welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
Furious start today. Francis leading them out. He's sprinting out of that start pen. Hilada is the rider chasing. It is fast and furious from Francis. Look at that over. Look at this push, 6.8 watts per kilo. Absolutely hammering it here and really, really pushing it fast through that sprint. Really wanting those sprint segments.
Right now, we've got Mark Gates up at the front. We've got Count Winfield chasing him. Count Winfield came to the fore in the championship. Meanwhile, Mr. X100 on the move in Category 1. He's not waiting till the climb. He's going early here, and this is a big move.
There's a push from the group. Vidal Mayer has pushed off the front of the chasing group. So Mayer now working hard to try and bridge the gap. Jose Oviedo's trying to stay in there and trying to help out a bit, but it is going to, well, I think it's going to break him.
It could do, but you know what? He's got a place back with that. Mr. X100, though, really winding this up. We're about to come to the base of the climb. This is the run out shot up above. You can see those riders in that pack just reforming, regrouping, and then it's time to take another move. Time to take a little bit of a turn on the front. Put the pressure on. Look at the stretch there. Quadrelli leading. Valley's coming at 10 watts per kilo. So is Caligula. Bradley has got to make a move since the run is so tight. You've got to finish it off in style. Here comes the banner. Bella's leading it out. Quadrelli on his right-hand side. Caligula comes, but it's going to be Bella's who takes it.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are here on the 26th of November for the monthly final. This is the men's race and it is set up to be a brilliant finale today. My name's Emma Martin. I am joined in the studio by Matt Payne.
Hello.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, Emma.
There you go. We're doing a little switch up today, but it is going to be a great race. Now, we've had some phenomenal racing in the men's competition throughout November. We've had 3 qualifying rounds. This is the final, and we're heading to Colombia, Matt.
Indeed, one of my favourite worlds to ride. I say that about pretty much everyone because I love the worlds that we've got on MyWhoosh. Now, this course is very much a case of the initial section, which is basically flat. There are a couple of little bumps in there, the bridges, the rises through the tunnels, and where all of our sprints are, 5 sprints on the way through, each of which are individually timed, 300 and 200 meters on these sprints, but they give us a snapshot on the riders on the run into 21.9k, which is the start of the commencement of the climbing. That takes us up the medalling climb, the first of our climbs, Category 2 climb, and that climb 5.5 kilometers long. We finish it off up at the Bogota climb, which is the second of those, and we'll take a look at the back of the course when we get a little bit closer to it. But our riders are down on the line and ready to go.
They are indeed, and it's going to be our Category 4 riders in those red jerseys who are going to be first to start today. And it's going to be about the team competition as well this week. So 33 riders, 7 teams.
We have indeed. We've got the Anzacs, we've got Spinergy, Tiny, Visma, we've got the Tour de Force team, all of which are really strong. We also have Bauhaus Sport Club, DS team, and the Lost Amigos, as well as 2 individual riders on the start line. This is the kickoff of the men's race on our finals in November on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's time to see our Category 4, the first category, underway, leading the race out, and away we go underneath that Union Cycliste Internationale, the UCI banner, as our riders head out on to the course, the Amazonian part of the world, the flat section before we head off into the climbs. Category 4, traditionally quick starters, traditionally aggressive racers, and very often the teams here are going to work well together. Now, teams out there are always going to be key in our finals?
Well, the teams are key in our finals, but we had a huge amount of movement in Category 4 and Category 3 this month, with riders progressing from Category 4 to Category 3 and Category 3 to Category 2, I think really opening up the dynamics of this final this week. Last month, it was just 4 seconds of team competition between the Anzacs and the Backhouse Sports Club. Now, some of those riders have progressed that finished in the top 5. So, for example, Mark Dadson is now in Category 3. But it has left the top 5 open, and we've seen different riders win this month and different riders in the top 5 in the qualifiers. I think this is really going to open it up. So for me at the moment, I am saying this is probably Backhouse Sports Club, the Anzacs and Tour de Force, who have all had top 5 finishes this month. For me, on paper, they seem the 3 who are going to be competing for that team competition. But to be honest, with the nature of this field being so open, it could be anybody.
And I don't want to give any spoilers away. Please do watch the women's show. But
yeah,
it is really, really, really critical how the race is played out in the first part on the flatter section of the course to 21.9 kilometres. That is very decisive on how the racing then unfolds in the second part as we go up the Medellin climb and the Bogota City climb.
Yeah, because the courses today, the women have already raced in Colombia on the Paso Alto in their final. And the difference between the two courses, well, the men have an additional 10 kilometres of climbing on the second climb of the day, and the first 35 kilometres of this race are identical to the 35 kilometres the women raced.
Yep. So basically, when we get onto the last climb, we just keep on going and going and going.
Well, going at the moment is indeed the front of this Category 4 race field. They're stretching it out early, 1.6 kilometres into this race already, and Ian Lloyd just coming off the pace on the front, but riders continuing to come up and over the top. Casagrande's come up over the top. Londono is there. These riders all moving through here and keeping this pace high.
It's really high. Watching the graphic left-hand side, our satellite navigation, you can see as the rider pushes on, their dot detaches, it moves off in front of the group. We are seeing 1 or 2 riders just struggling with the pace a little bit at this stage. We're early doors in, 2 kilometres of 45 kilometres travelled. So at the moment, Paolo Cusimano, the rider who's on the attack, trying to get that gap. And 5 seconds, Emma, is a very quick opener, but he's gone solo. And that is something that, well, if he makes it to the finish,
if someone could have taken a picture of my face then, because I couldn't quite believe the push from Cusimano so early on. I mean, this is absolutely flat out racing at the beginning of this race. They're not even 2.5 kilometres into it.
They're not. And surely he wants to see a response or a move. At the moment behind, we are seeing people just ticking around the front of the group. Look at the bunch. It's across the road.
They're not interested, are they? And let's put this into some context. I have in front of me, when we were here in July, it was a 1:44 from Acevedo and Quadrelli in Category 4 for the winning time. So Category 3 now in the start pen with the seconds ticking down until they go. Those are the blue jersey wearers. 8 different teams today. Take us through, Matt.
So we've got the Anzacs in here. Level Racing, Italian Pizza and the Italian Espresso Squad. The Espresso Squad have been very strong all the way through the qualifiers. We've got GUW, we've got Draft, Colombian Andean, who should be absolutely at home on this massive climb into the Paso Alto, and the Gold Grabbers as well, which includes Taylor Gonsolin, who does go well on this course.
Well, I have to say, for me, it's between the Gold Grabbers and Italian Espresso. It's going to be really interesting to see whether anybody else can mix it up with these teams as we're into the final seconds. These blue jerseys are going to be out of this start pen. Away they go on the MyWhoosh November final. Had to check myself then because couldn't quite believe we've made November, but we have indeed. There's 1 more month to go in 2023. Well, these guys aren't bothered about next month. They are bothered about right now, because this is the final. This is where it counts. This is not just for individual glory. This is about teamwork as well.
So here we go, start kicking off quickly. Our riders are up and away. You can see this is a big block of riders out. And as you can see, Cy Bradley, the rider that we're in with here, probably the last time I'm going to mention this for a little while, but do catch up with Cy Bradley on the Velo viewer, sorry, on the virtual Velo. Virtual Velo,
get
the
your
right platform.
teeth in.
I know, in the virtual Velo podcast, Cy Bradley, it's episode 33, where they have Matt Smithson, a guest on the show. Matt, of course, one of the key people in making the racing happen, so please do catch it up with that. Cy, of course, doing the business out on the roads of the various worlds in qualification. Can he make it pay off today? We're already seeing attacks coming.
He had a third place last week. It's taken him a couple of months to get the technique and tactics right on the platform, but he did last week. But we're seeing a push on at the front here, at the front of this, and it's Julian Orrego who is pushing on Johan Moreno and Daniel Cadiz. Well, Moreno's gone with him, but Cadiz was at the front of the chasing pack, so Orrego and Moreno, the two riders pushing on, and they're pushing on early as well. Now, these fields are really big. 33 riders on the start sheets in Category 4, 40 riders on start sheets in Category 3. And this Category 3 race field, now I always think this is the most competitive, but we saw the top end of this race field move on last month, and it opened up a little bit because riders progressed into Category 2. But we saw the top end of Category 4 progress into Category 3. So it really has got mixed up this month, and I think we're going to see different riders really push on here, not just because of the team competition, but because there's less expectation in this race field about who is going to win.
I think it does definitely change the dynamic. Interesting news was we were watching there of the emotes there, the ability to gesticulate with your avatar, use your avatar to convey what you want to happen. There we saw the spinning finger down. If you are basically a new rider to esports, maybe you haven't been outdoors on a chain gang or similar, well, that basically means take your turn. Well, it's time to work together and take your turn coming through. That doesn't mean people always do, but both riders, it was Orrego who put that down, Moreno followed his lead, and both riders have been taking turns.
Well, I'll tell you something. If these two riders team up, Orrego from the Colombian Andean squad, Moreno from Draft, if these two can work together and put some time in, they're going to create a little bit of a wave through that pack in terms of people wondering how this race is going to play out. Well, playing out on the other side of your screen, it is Paolo Cusimano still pushing on at the front of Category 4. The pack 8 seconds back are starting to stretch, but they're starting to stretch because they are going up and over the bridges, and traditionally we see a bit of a push on the bridges, and that's where we start to see riders distance off the back. And on the bottom left hand side of that Category 4 screen, 2 riders just distance off that pack. So Cusimano pushing on 10 seconds now. Cronje is there, Yates is there, Montoya is there, Zanaska is there. Those are the riders leading the chasing group, but it is sticking at around 9 to 10 seconds at the moment.
So Paolo Cusimano with the gap in Category 4. In Category 3, Orrego and Moreno now at 12 seconds as they head in to the green sprint banner here. Underneath the start they go. Now they are at 2.7k, which means they've got 300 meters of sprint banner, and this will be really interesting because the sprints give us basically a snapshot on how fast people are going. It is not done in order of going across the line, it's done in terms of relative speed and time. So if Orrego and his breakaway partner are fastest in the sprint, we know that they're gaining time on the rest of the bunch. If the rest of the bunch are faster, they're bringing them back. So it gives us that clear indicator of what's happening as they move across this fantastic boardwalk bridge here as we are in the amazing world of Colombia on MyWhoosh. Don't forget, you can ride this world. This is a great route out here, one of my favorite routes. Takes you out and around here. There's lots of different routes, including, of course, the incredibly, amazingly well-named Coffee Trail.
Well, there's a man who likes his coffee.
And you get right now.
I know, look at that. You get to ride on the coffee trail as well. Well, Moreno and Orego, the gap coming down slightly now, down to 5 or 6 seconds. So the group now pushing on, and they've got them in their sights very clearly up ahead. But I think we've got Moreno pushing on a little bit more. I think he wants to hang out a little bit longer and just take that. But the group, the pack chasing, and that sprint really maneuvered and articulated that group to push on and drive and close that gap between the groups. Now, unlike our women, where each of the race categories have a 5-minute differential in the starts, it a little bit mixes up in the men's, because the category 3 riders start 5 minutes behind our category 4 riders, but our category 2 riders start 10 minutes behind category 3, category 1 at 5 minutes behind category 2. So there is 20 minutes total differential between the 4 race fields.
And don't forget, of course, that in this race, in the men's race, categories 3 and 4 can see and draft from each other. Categories 1 and 2 can see and draft from each other, unlike the women's race that we had earlier on today, where all 4 categories can use each other's draft as they go through and can see each other. So categories 3 and 4 and categories 1 and 2 in the men's race are able to draft each other. Categories 2 and 1 can do the same. Here we are in with category 4. Currently the rider stretching their legs in the sprint was Matt Smith, the man we were talking about in terms of being out there and a driving force in the events on MyWhoosh, and great believer in that you should practice what you preach. You should be able to go out and actually experience what the people do. When I was working in events, which is a long time ago, I was able to drive a forklift truck, I was able to throw barriers from the truck. I could do all the jobs. I didn't choose to do them, but I knew what they involved. I knew what everything was, so I knew what everybody could do in that team, and I knew how the experience was, because I'd often go right through the event and through the race finishes as well. Here we've got people going out and actually riding. It's a bit like having a trail building team and having it full of people who can't build, who can't actually ride a mountain bike very well, whereas certain ones, they can, and all their staff are employed who can actually do the business, and that is where it really shows. Anyone who's ridden a mountain bike on a trail built by a mountain biker who can ride knows about it, because it's got a really good feel, and that's what we're seeing here. Matt Smithson in actually riding, experiencing the racing. He's out there, he's actually able to ride in the pack. He knows what it feels like, and that is great to see. And he's in a really tough race, because we've got riders like Xavier Maillard in here.
They're pushing on at the moment and continuing to push on up and over this, our next bridge on this course. You know, they're 8 kilometres now into this race category 4, and there's been some real push and drive here. So the race field starting to get smaller. We've had a number of riders come off the back of this category 4 race field. We haven't had a group breakaway off the front, but that is one way of making it a smaller group and taking it into the bottom of this climb. And that, I think, is what will continue to happen until we get to that 21.9 kilometre mark. When we get to that first category 2 climb, we will start to see this group get smaller and smaller and smaller until we get there. But my money is saying we're still going to have 20-ish riders going into that climb together, I reckon, today.
I don't think you're going to be far away with that. I don't think the attritional rate will be strong enough to bring them down. Now, we have got categories 4 and 3 already underway. It's time to move to category 2, who are waiting patiently at the pens. Not much longer for them to wait, and we have a huge list of riders and a huge list of teams, some of which are going to be very familiar, some are not. We have the Wattage Wizards and the Wattage Warlocks here as well. We have the Hitmen, Hell Tarmac, and Hubbards as well. They're the first set of 5 of our teams here today. We also have Cafe de Colombia, well known in cycling circles, Beast Mode powered by Rose. We have the Velocation cycling team, and of course the UAE Falcons, who are always with us and always going to be tough to beat. Big names in there. We'll go through the teams and those riders in a little more detail once we are underway. It's looking good, though, for Category 2. So here we go. Category 2, our penultimate category, hit the roads of Colombia. It's time to show us what they're made of. A brutally tough course with 45 kilometers, 914 meters, all of which pretty much comes in the last half of this race. The vast majority coming on the Medley climb and on the Bogota climb. Olivier Simmons, Phil Graves, Cam Whitfield, and a certain Mr. Spratt already on the move. The Hitmen are hitting hard the moment we go out from the gate.
Well, I tell you something, all 5 of them have gone together, and there's no way anybody is going to let that whole team go. Now, last month, it was the Wattage Wizards from the Hitmen who took the team competition, but the difference between those 2 teams was 9.9 seconds. And when you bear in mind, viewers, it's the first 3 riders in each team, their time added together, that gives the team competition total time. 9.9 seconds between those 6 riders in those 2 teams. Well, that is a close race, and I think we're up for a close race today as well. But really interesting to see the young rider Cam Winfield in the Hitmen squad as well today. Full complement of 5 riders. Cam Winfield, now for me, he's come up from category 3 where he started in the MyWhoosh qualifiers. In the MyWhoosh 8-day stage race earlier on this year. He's progressed to category 2. He is getting better and better, not just as an esports rider, but on his mountain bike and on the road as well. Well, he's currently leading this out with the rest of his team, and they are doing damage to this category 2 race field.
They've absolutely annihilated. This is an absolutely blitzkrieg move. They have gone on the front. This tactic is instigated by one team, the Hitmen. They have gone hard and they've put everyone in trouble from the word go. Brilliant tactics. We've got strong standards. Let's get out there. Let's hit them hard. They have eliminated riders.
Can you remember seeing this
game
before?
over? It's game over, some of these riders already. We are not 2K. This has not been done before. First time on MyWhoosh. What a ride. If nothing else happens during the course of this race, we're seeing history made because you have just put down the move of the race in the first 2 kilometres.
Well, I think, can you imagine the chat they've had before about shall we do this, shall we do this, shall we not? But they are absolutely doing it right now, and the quality of this team, I think they can hold this till the end, but that is going to be something to see. It is absolutely going to be amazing. Now, the other thing this Category 2 squad know is that the Category 1 race that starts 5 minutes behind them is going to be flying today.
Yeah, it is, and that means that the opportunity to jump on are more difficult. If you made it hard and people are sprinting from the start, you're less likely to jump on board a pack coming through. Van Haren has seen the danger, but the problem is that group at the front has now got a critical mass of riders, I think, and now it makes it even harder to get across. Graves, East, Winfield, Betty, Spratt, Benson, Obco, those are the riders in front. That is 7 very strong riders behind. Because they've gone so hard, the group is not putting in together a concerted chase. They're 1s and 2s.
Well, do you know, I have to say, the chase is coming actually from Beast Mode powered by Rose, because Mare is there, Von Haren is there,
yeah.
Mendakowicz. So don't forget, Mendakowicz has had a 1st and a 3rd this month in the qualifiers. And Bjarhead is also in there. So that 4-man squad for Beast Mode powered by Rose, you know, they are all together and they are starting to think about how they get back on board here.
This move, it's never going to be the move that takes just that. If that team went clear to the finish, it'd be an absolute miracle. But what it's done, it has caused carnage, caused people to work. Are we going to see the same tactics from Category 1?
Well, my initial thoughts are no, but there's 50 seconds for us to find out. So Category 1 in the yellow jerseys are the final team to start. 7 teams, Matt.
7 teams, Donut Give Up, the International Cake Club, MyWhoosh, and the Belgian Waffles squad on our start list. And the Waffles always strong when it comes to our finals. The Sweet Potatoes are in here, the Lone Men, and of course the UAE clan team, who have been resurgent this month. But can they bring it in to the final? Can they make it count today? That is going to be a tough call. This is when it's going to count. Category 1, the teams are ready. We've got individual riders ready. This is it.
Well, we are in with Mr. X100 as the final seconds countdown on the November final. The yellow jerseys are away. They are go, go, go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Up and out of the start pen we go. Now, last month in the final, it was the Belgian Waffles from the Sweet Potatoes from the UAE clan team. Popovic and Safrazad took the sprint. At the moment, having a sprint, well, it's Ollie Jones pushing on here. Jones, one of our individual riders.
Yeah, 10 watts per kilo coming out of Ollie Jones, a 9.9 so as he kicked away. This is not just about getting out with the pack. This is about making it hard from the start. Maybe he's been watching the live feed. You never ever know to see what's been happening, because this is really critical. Don't forget, if you're watching the live feed, do it on Twitch TV. Best resolution, get all the fantastic graphics.
So here's my question. Ollie Jones is one of our individual riders in Category 1. Unlike the Hitmen, who are a full team squad, going hard as an individual rider in Category 1, are the rest of the teams going to even respond, or are they going to go, do you know what, we don't mind if you take the top spot overall in the individual competition, we are going to fight for the team competition, and hence we're just going to leave you out there?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer?
Let's go with the short one.
No.
Well, I'm
going to elaborate on that. I'm going to give you no choice.
I think at the moment they're leaving him out there. He's 12 seconds gone.
It's not that they're happy for him. No way on this earth they're happy for him to take 10,000 AED. That's not on anybody's agenda today. They will give him lots of time because they know the power of the pack when they're moving is brilliant to drive down and chase down. You watch on the tours, the riders come from such a long way back. You can have a minute coming into a sprint stage, but once a pack drives on the front, the team will come through like an absolute express train. They will close that gap down very quickly. They know that they can pull back a solo rider at will, and that is why when one rider goes, they're not that bothered.
Wow.
They'll wait and see what happens, because if you do not get to be Category 1 without being a smart rider as well as a strong rider. You can't just go at this like a bull in a china shop. Jonesy's tactic's good. It's got him 20 seconds nearly. That's a nice leeway. He can now rest and let him come back. He can carry on a little bit. He can sit at a pace. But he's got to be very aware he's putting a lot more energy than sitting in this bunch.
Well, he is, and let's remember there's 35 riders in this race field, and we've had some really great performances this month. So Vink has taken 2 wins. The third qualifier win was taken by Martin Martins, who on top of his win has had a 2nd and a 5th. So every week he has been in the top 5. Lionel Vujasin has had a 4th this month. David Talbot has had a 5th. Syed Safrazad has had a 3rd and a 4th. Johan Norn has had a 4th. Knudsen's had a 2nd and 2/3. And Popovic has had a 2nd and a 5th. So interesting that we have riders who have multiple times placed in the top 5 this month, which tells me that those riders are really on form at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because this is a final, because there is not just the individual prize money, but there's the team money, prize money at stake as well, it does change the complexion. People are not prepared to gamble with other people's money in the same way they're prepared to gamble with their own. And I think that's one of the reasons why you can see going out of the front Ollie Jones in Category 1, and why it was such a surprise to see the entire Hitman team go out on the offensive in Category 2, because it is such a gamble. It is all or nothing in some ways. The one thing to the advantage of the riders is when you come back through, there is still a long way even to the climb. The climb is not going to come until 22 kilometers basically. So you've got time to put an attack and recover. Really interestingly, starting to see a move here. Pablo Popovic and Michael Kaminsky are the riders who have started to get things wound up. They've gone, do you know what? He's at 30 seconds. Let's not let him go too much further. There's got to be a point at which we come after them.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And while some of our riders may well have had a breakfast of champions today, Martin Martins, Tim Cutler, Michael Kaminsky, these riders now all coming to the front. Ollie Jones 30 seconds up the road.
So this is going to be interesting. Who is going to push here? So a little bit of a move by Popovic, but not much. Kaminsky, again, not much. We know how deep
think this
guy's
group
can
of
dig.
riders are going to be looking at each other and not looking at Ollie Jones down the road.
I mean, how comfortable, how much room Ollie Jones is a good rider.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's an absolutely class rider. I would let Ollie Jones have a minute and a half.
But
even 2.
I think this is a clear strategy by Jones to take the win today. And you can see there, Amazon Lake Sprint, it is our Category 2 riders setting the fastest time through, 23 seconds, 0.8 of a second. It is Hubbard's rider, Ochia, who is come through at that time. Gallo in 2, Kane in 3, Mendakowicz in 4, Simmons in 5, Miyuki in 6, Kopecky in 7. And you can just see it, they keep going down. At what point do we see a Category 1 rider?
Well, we see a Category 1 rider coming in 24th position after almost all of the Category 2 riders, but it's a long way down. It is, in fact, 38th place for Ollie Jones through the sprint. So Ollie Jones going in and through there. I think what we're going to find is that he is going to be really struggling when we come to the climb, because this is a massive effort. I mean, he's still holding 6 watts per kilo behind Knudsen, Martins, Kaminsky, all starting to put the pressure on there, but that is because they're on the way in towards the first of the bridges. You can see them top right hand side of your screen. Those 3 bumps are the bridges. As we go up and over the bridge, the gradient increases, the watts per kilo will increase, then they go over the other side, they go down, they traditionally decrease there. Onto the bridge they come, over the bridge they're going. You can see that there's this push on here, but the gap to Ollie Jones is still holding at around 30 seconds.
Well, the question is, so the times for Category 1, Michael Knudsen in August, 1 hour and 18. Jason Osborne in July, 1 hour and 18. Michael Vink back in May, 1 hour and 17 on this course. Can Jones time trial his way to victory for that sort of length?
He's going to have to ride a time that will put him in 1:17.
Yeah, he is.
And I'll be honest, I don't think that's possible.
Well, the question is, I wonder whether he has done the maths to work out what pace he needs to ride at.
Well, there's a big incentive, let's face it.
There
is a lot of prize money.
Should we take a look at that incentive?
Tell you what, why not? Let's look at the prize money for all 4 categories, because all 4 categories have different prize funds. All 4 categories being awarded prizes, and of course it's a monthly finals when the teams come into play. So with all 4 of our race categories en route, we'll start off with Category 4. Now, Category 4 prize money. We have got not just the individual classification, but as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen and in the centre, for the monthly finals, the individual and team classification. In the individual classification, it's a top prize of 2,160 AED. For the team competition with 3 riders to count, 10,800 AED is the first prize, 6,480 for second, 4,320 for third, 2,160 for fourth, and 1,080 AED for fifth. Now, as we move up from categories 4 to 3, guess what happens? The prize money goes up because we have got increased levels of performance, so we get increased rewards. You can see that the first prize in the individual classification becomes the third prize in the individual classification as we move up, and the team classification prize increases. So first place is 18,000 AED, which if you've got a team of 3 is 6,000 AED each, in addition to whatever individual prize money you have got if you take the win. Now, category 3 to category 2, it's another increase. We go up again. So this time we have a top prize of 6,000 AED for the individual win, ranging down to 1,200 for the 5th place. We have a team classification prize fund that goes for 5th place 3,000 AED. For 1st place it's 10 times that, a whopping 30,000 AED for a win in team 1 classification. No wonder the hitmen were on the offensive so early, and if you think that's big, you know, you ain't seen nothing yet, as the saying goes, because category 1, it is in the league above. It is a huge 2,000 AED for 5th, 4,000 for 4th, 6,000 for 3rd, 8,000 for 2nd, and 10,000 AED for the win. For the team competition, 5,000 AED for 5th, 10,000 for 4th, 20,000 for 3rd, 30,000 for 2nd, and absolutely mind-blowing. 50,000 AED for the win in Category 1. Now, we know that not all of our riders are in the Arab Emirates. They're not all going to spend their money in AED, so we are going to go over to... It is Emma's Exchange, because it's going to be coming from somewhere around the world with an alternate currency just for everybody. We are working our way through them all. If you have a request, please send it
put it in.
Yeah, put it into @BikingEmma of a currency you would like it in, and we'll see what we can do.
I'm sure there must be one I've missed.
There is probably one. But Emma, today on the November finals, where is Emma's Exchange heading for the currency for the winning team?
Well, in the women's race, I went on the southern hemisphere. So for the men's race, I'm doing the northern hemisphere, and I'm picking Swedish krona.
Oh, excellent.
So 50,000 AED is 142,137 Swedish krona.
So 142,137.96 Swedish krona for the team win here today for the winning team.
In Category 1.
In Category 1. Well, who is going to be taking that home? We do have Swedish riders in Category 1. But, as you can see on your screens, at the Aberdeen Bridge Sprint, only Ollie Jones has gone through with a time to trouble the top 10 because he's in 9th place.
It's the pace of that Category 2 race that is just absolutely obliterating this. All instigated by the Hitmen, and it is indeed Cam Winfield, the young rider with the Hitmen, there first.
And if we look down the screens, it is again 35th to 36th place when we start to see the rest of the bunch come through. Now, the gap is consistently up at nearer 40 seconds. If you're looking at the time gaps and seeing them change, I mean, you may be new to esports, the times are done based on speed and position. They are not based on a fixed point and the time it takes the rider to go past. So, for example, if we were to take a fixed point, somebody might say, okay, so the time is on the 15th lamppost on the right. As we go past the waterfall, we'll start the clock now for Ollie Jones, and then after a set period of time, and now for the bunch. And then that time will be calculated. It's really slow, it's funky, and come on, we've got computers these days. We sent man to the moon not all that long ago. If we do it on esports, it's different. It's calculated by the speed and the distance that the riders have covered, at the speed that they're traveling. Now, if a rider is on a climb, obviously that speed is less than the people they're chasing on descent. They're going faster, that time will change. So we take an average across what we're seeing on our screens to try and give you those time gaps.
Taking a look at the time gaps at the moment, this actually is the chasing group in the Category 2 race, because the leading group are 18 seconds up the road.
Still down the road. And do you know what? I didn't give this breakaway
well, I'll tell you
hoping in anything, and they're there.
We've got riders pushing on at the moment, trying to start to do something about this. So Mark Gates is one of the riders trying to close this down, because it's looking like we've got 6 riders in this Category 2 race filled up the road, and then the pack. Now, just a word of warning and just a word of caution. Should you be sprinting for signs out in real life, please be careful if your bike breaks.
Oh, thanks.
You might end up a little bit bashed and bruised, like my co-commentator today. Please check your equipment. Please ensure your helmet is on safely.
Yeah, so for those people who maybe haven't seen the social media posts, which we did program this to come out at some point during the shows, it may well have landed. Yeah, I decided I was going to be like the Hitmen, and I was going to go on the offensive and go on the attack, and really take it to the people out on the ride with me. Unfortunately, as I sprinted through a sign out in the roads of France, my bike and the equipment failed. I decided to use my helmet for a brake, repeatedly bashing it on the floor and be with it.
As you can tell, it's not done any damage to his voice.
No. Whilst I might be battered and bruised after extensive medical checks, they said that they didn't understand how I had very little damage and that I was only battered and bruised. And they put it down to me being like Superman or just plain stupid. You can choose which one that is. However, It does mean I'm back to the Bruce, which is one of the reasons why Emery's there, just in case I keel over in the studio halfway through.
Well,
so if you hear a big thump, you know
I've
that what
never
it is.
commentated with Superman before, but
You're not now.
Well, there you go. You said it, not me. But we've got some super performances we're expecting today on this race, and at the moment it's Luke Allport, Cy Bradley, and Dexter Abello. I can see here David Winfield is there. This group is stretching a little bit, you know. It is indeed Allport on the front of this pack. 18.8 kilometres now into this race. They are nearly through the flatlands. The flatlands are going to finish when they get to 21.9 kilometres, because that's when they get to the first category to climb.
Interesting, another remote there going in, another work together. Let's keep the pace high.
The size of that group.
There's so many. It's almost too big. It's almost too big, because the problem is when you've got so many people, it's hard to motivate everybody to go. When you've got like 5 or 6 riders, you can really start to give the emotes for people to see that. You can talk to your teammates, yes, but when you're wanting to motivate that, it's so difficult to do. And I think we're seeing that here in category 1 as well. I mean, this is a big group.
It is.
It's not moving silly quick. Look at the watts per kilo. Absolute critical power number when it comes to power to weight number when you come to
look at Michael
racing.
Vink's heart rate, 135.
Yeah,
now, we know that is very steady for Michael Vink. We know that is, I would say, just a very steady state ride.
Yeah, and at the moment, that group are all sitting very comfortably together. So, as they went through, interestingly, Say Carradine, Tim Cutler, Jason Osborne and Jakob Bjorklund are very close. In fact, Say Carradine faster than Ollie Jones's time. There is nothing pretty much to separate when you look at the actual time gap on the right-hand side. Simmons, Gates, East and Winfield, very similar times going through, but remember, East and Winfield are in the leading group. Simmons and Gates are chasing down the riders there, with Simmons marking Gates through that sprint. So what that means on the road is that we have pretty much status quo being held by the chasers and the leaders in categories 1 and 2. In category 4, they are already at that wonderful number of 21.9k. They are hitting the very first of our climbs. This is the Medellin City climb. Now, we did say we'd bring you the profile in detail a little bit later on. We will do that for you at some point in the towards the back end of the show, because we've still got a lot of climbing to come.
Well, I think the point to note here is this category 4 race field, 33 riders were on the start sheets today. This group has 24 in it.
And they are all on the base of this climb, but they will not all be together at the top of this climb. I will absolutely guarantee that, because there is no way that these riders are going to squander the opportunity on what is a relatively steep climb. It's 5.5 kilometers long. It's 6% average gradient. But what is really critical is when you come over the top, it gets quick, real fast into the FRB, the flat rolling bumpy section. If you are going to push and you want to lose people, this is a good one to do it, because you've got the recovery coming up afterwards of the flat rolling bumpy section, if you can use it for that.
And that's what's really interesting.
That's key.
This climb is 5.5 kilometres long. You've then got 3.6k of flat rolly bumpy, and then you've got 13.5 kilometres of the Bogota climb. Now, as an average gradient, that's only 3.6%, but it does get steep in places. There is just over 7% at one part of it.
There is, and the long climbs. But one of the things I had the privilege of riding with some of our riders the whole length of this climb. We did the whole of the Paso Alto, not all that long ago in the men's race. Well, sorry, it was a men's ride, really. It felt like a race. I mean, they were all just tapping along at zone 1 and 2, and I was blowing out of every ear roll I had. But really, really is. So this was this is a climb which is going to take us up. It's a climb I've done. It's a climb that I like, which is for a long climb is unusual. That's because of the scenery there, and I was in great company with the guys who were riding. But I have to say, the long climb up, the gradients change a lot. And that steep, that flat, and that twist, that turn, for me, it gives it the interest. That means that it does mean you can break away on there. So I think, for me, we're seeing the riders coming in here in Category 3 as another big pack to the Medellin City climb. Medellin City will make a selection, but it will not be race-winning moves.
Well, I think
that happens on the end, at the top of the climb, on the very last climb.
I think one of the interesting things here in this Category 3 race field, and the pack is huge at the moment, bearing in mind we're 21.5 kilometres into this 45-kilometre race. 10 different riders took top 5 positions in the qualifiers in November. Now, bearing in mind there's only 3 qualifiers, there was 15 potential spots up for grab. 10 different riders took spots. Now, Giuliano, Kochkov and Diduch were 3 of those who all took 2 top 5 positions. All 3 of those are in the Gold Grabbers team. The other rider was Filippo Codrelli, 2 firsts and a second from Italian Espresso. The other rider not part and parcel of the final today. But I think that's really interesting because all the other riders who have had a top 5 position this month have just had the one. So that dominance for me today, it goes to that Gold Grabbers team.
Well, let's see if they live up to the billing that Emma's just given them, that they live up to the stats that she has pulled out. But we all know what statistics are. There's lies, damn lies and statistics.
Well, sometimes the numbers don't lie either.
We will see whether that's going to be true. Which of those well-known hackneyed phrases and sayings will we be thinking was the right one when we get to the top? We're on to the climb. The first of 2. This is the Category 2 climb of the Medellin climb. This will take us up into that mid-section. 3 groups now working their way up. Sorry, 2 groups on the climb. One just about, they're not far away actually, the Category 2. Category 1, they're in the subterranean tunnels going over the bridge at the moment. So SS is on his way through the tunnels in Category 1. Betty, Category 2, on his way to the climb. Quadrelli and Cronia in Categories 3 and 4, whether they are on the climb.
Well, whether they are on the climb, they're all getting there eventually. This is going to be full out today, I think, on the climbs, and that's what's going to be really interesting.
It is. I think we could do with a little bit more detail into these, because we are going to see that Category 1 and 2 are showing that it's going to be critical. The breakaway still there, 20 seconds holding at the moment for our 5 initial breakaways in Category 2. Big pack in Category 1. They've yet to reach those climbs. So let's take a look at that when we can at that course profile. Here it comes. And it is the classic Paso Alto climb that takes us from the Amazon area. Now, we've done all the bits to the left. Don't worry about all the yellow stuff to the left. Irrelevant now, basically. It's all about what's to the right-hand side. First red section, first climb, consistent gradient. Steep, 6%, but short. And when you go over the top, it quickly kicks into a downhill and into flat rolling bumpy. So the yellow block that goes up until the 31-kilometre mark is known as the FRB section. One day we'll get this in, not just on marker pen on our notes here. The flat rolling bumpy section. That section is critical. It's chase back on if you've been distanced. It's recover if you need to, or it's attack if you're in a position to take a gap onto the Bogota climb, which comes at the end. That is critical. Now, that Bogota climb finishes with 500 meters to go in terms of the climb shown on the ground. So the polka dot banner will come at 500 meters to go, 44.5k. That climb, whilst the average gradient is 3.6%, there are steps and kicks in there that change it. It's incredibly twisty. It's a sinuous climb, climbing up through the jungle to the top. And I have to say, having done it, the last 500 meters are absolutely purgatory if you are suffering, and they are joyful if you are on form. It's going to be really, really telling who has got the pace. The riders in Category 1, they all have the power to climb that fast. It's who uses it wisely, who uses their energy wisely. At the moment, Ollie Jones
time trialing
away. The gap is 1 minute 26. That, at the moment, for me, says that I think if he keeps this up, he could hit the slopes of the mountain with potentially up to 2 minutes.
I think he's gone, how do I win this race? And he's gone, it's a team competition because of the final. They're all going to look at each other. I'm going to time trial from the start, and I bet they ignore me. And I tell you what, that brave move has worked.
I keep saying we ought to have a combativity award.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Ollie Jones is going to have won it today.
I think, you know, the hitmen pushed it close, and you can see here as they go through the Sandgill sprint that the hitmen working together and the chasing teams behind are really putting the pressure on Category 2. It's resulting in the increase in speed that's seen them at the top of the standings as we go through the Sandgill sprint. Now, it's been 35th and 38th in the first couple of sprints. Whereabouts are the Category 1 roughly?
So Ollie Jones going through in 30th, keeping that pace steady, keeping going
very
on.
Consistent, isn't it?
The rest of the Category 1 race field going through from 63rd down.
So they've actually
relatively
slowed down.
Yep. So that is it now, I think, for any form of chase for Ollie Jones until potentially we get to those climbs in the latter stages of this race in Category 1.
Ollie Jones.
Well done, Ollie Jones. This is going to be really, really interesting to see. I hope he's got his pacing right. I hope he's got his judgment right. And I hope he has done the math before he started. Can't believe he hasn't. And we've got on the right-hand side of your screen Jones on the right. On the left, this is the chasing group. Very, very steady. We're in with X100 at the moment, and his heart rate's sat at 111. And now that tells me, this is seriously steady state for the Category 1 pack.
And that Category 1 pack there, we've just seen two riders go off the front of it on the left-hand side of our screen. Two riders going down the road, and still not a massive response. You can see them as they come around this bend. Look at them on the front. They've just let them drift back. The group have drifted up there. They've not... You didn't see 7 watts per kilo. You didn't see 8 watts per kilo. You didn't see the chevrons going red to flag it because they were not being chased hard. So even when riders are squeezing on the front maybe to pick the pace up, no, everyone's still going, no, I don't think so, Sunshine. We'll just close you down nice and steady. I think this, for me, is where you said you hoped he'd done his maths. What maths would he need to do for this?
Well, I think he needs to have worked out what average pace he needs to hold to time trial this to the finish in a winning time. Now, we said earlier in the show that winning time is normally around 1 minute 18. 1 hour 18 minutes, 1 hour 17 minutes was Vink in May, but that was the fastest we've seen on this course. So if he had planned for a 1 hour 18 minute win and he'd worked out the average pace he had to roughly time trial out and hold to complete this course in a winning time, then he possibly stands a chance.
Yep. Yeah.
Possibly, depending upon what happens behind him.
Yeah, I mean, you can guarantee they are going to go quicker at some point.
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
At what point will they go quicker? How hard can Ollie Jones go?
Well,
what concerns me is that he's at 5.5 watts per kilo, and we know he can go harder than that.
I tell you someone who's going hard at the moment, and that's Matt Smithson in Category 4, because look at what he's done to that race field. So Smithson pushing on, now got 27 seconds on Zanaska and another 20 seconds on Cusimano, Warren and Montoya, who are leading the charge of the group behind. So Smithson climbing well at the moment as the screen changes.
It does indeed, and we're in with SS. He's on the front. Well, he's not motoring, is he? He's not absolutely killing this on the way through. SS part of that UAE clan team. I don't think they'll be all that saddened by the way this race is playing out.
Well, no, I agree with you completely, because it's a very, very steady pace. We were just talking about X100's heart rate at 111. We know we've seen him. I think he pops at around 165, 164, 165. So we know he's got huge range. But talking about range, take a look at that going through this final sprint before the climb. It's still the hitman Nicholas Spratt setting the fastest time, 25 seconds, 0.26. Bengtsson from Wattage Wizards, then the hitmen again, then Wattage Wizards again. Then we see a little bit of a mix-up because Cafe de Colombia with Khan Kayan is 5th, Philip Graves the hitman 6th. Then we see Ollie Jones, the lone leader in that Category 1 race. Interestingly, going through at almost an identical time to Michael Knudsen, also in Category 1. And then we go back to the Hitmen in Category 2. Now, this is telling a bit of a story. Obviously, that pace is still high in that Category 2 race, but this is the story of the climb, because Category 4, they were the first riders to hit the bottom of the Medellin climb at 21.9 kilometers. They are nearly at the top. They've still got a little way to go, but currently it's Matt Smithson pushing on at the moment. He is clear of the chasing group by 40 seconds. There's a big chasing group behind. Cusimano is there, Warren is there, McMurtry is there, Nowak is there, Zanaska is there. All of those riders have had top 5 positions this month, and they are coming around the bend behind him. But Smithson is out of sight. If he turned his head over his shoulder, he would see clear road behind him. The pace being picked up on the chase by Warren at the moment, Nowak as well, but they are not coming close at the moment. They're just stringing out the group behind and potentially making the chase group smaller.
Okay, so real interesting moves in Category 4. But remember, our fastest riders on the road by the time we get to the top will be Category 1. They're our fastest riders. They are chasing Category 2, but Category 2, well, most of the riders are still chasing the original Breakaways.
Well, 34 seconds, 35 seconds, still out. This is the original Breakaway that went 23 kilometers ago. So Betty and Bengston, those 2 riders ride for Wattage Wizards, last month's winners. Yeast, Graves and Spratt, the riders from the Hitmen. So 3 riders from the Hitmen, 2 riders from the Wattage Wizards. Then it's Ospina, Mayer, Kranich, Hernandez. They are all in the chase group behind, you know. Can this 5 stay clear?
Yes.
I think they can
as
well.
I think
real strength and depth
in
here.
What they did is they put in a hard effort, but a short duration effort to go clear.
Well,
they got the gap. Then the 5 of them have worked together well, because, okay, there's 3 Hitmen in there. That might take away the first team prize, but if they get a good gap like they are, this could also sew up the second team prize
because of the distance.
Because of the distance. So if 5 riders get enough of a gap, you might have given away the first prize to the Hitmen. But the team in second place, which are at the moment with 2 riders,
Wattage Wizards.
So the Wattage Wizards now are putting themselves in a prime spot to take away a second place. And of course, anything could happen on the top of the climb. But with having this gap, with having that extra time gap, it's given them that advantage. They're now riding at pace. It's not the same distance we've seen Ollie Jones put in.
No, it's not. And actually, when you look at the chase group behind, the chase group are much of a similar pace to the riders, you know, and it is flittering around. It's coming down, it's going out, it's coming down, it's going out. This is going to be really interesting as to whether these 5 riders can ride clear. They are going to have to work together, you know. Now the challenge will come if the 3 riders from the Hitmen try to keep the work up, and the 2 riders from the Wattage Wizards decide, well, there's 3 of you against 2 of us. We're just going to take a tow.
Yeah,
and then we start seeing problems.
I agree 100%. And that is the thing, isn't it? Whilst the 5 work together, they've got that chance. It's mutually beneficial for all 5 riders. What we're going to see in Category 1 is going to be different, I think, because you've got Ollie Jones. Because he's a solo rider, because he's not part of a team, he's not going to affect the team prizes. The worst that will happen is he's going to cost them the difference between first place and second place if, and it is still a big if, he can stay clear to the top. Wow. If he's got his timing right, it might be that he thinks he can get there in 1 minute. I mean, I would be saying to myself, can I hold a pace that will get me there in 1 minute 15? Not
1 minute 15?
Not 1 minute. Sorry,
1
hour. Sorry, 1 hour 15. You know, I've had a bang on the head or 2. 1 hour 15, because that would give you a couple of minutes margin. And it is possible that he thinks he's got that ability.
And it is different. Time trialling 45 kilometres versus racing 45 kilometres, and the time in which you can do it.
And when you're setting your own pace, you're not going in the red. You're sitting at a pace you're comfy with. We haven't seen anybody try this for a long, long time. I think I'm not sure we've seen it ever. We've certainly seen people try it from a long way out.
Yes, we've definitely seen it from people try it from maybe 10k out.
Well, Michael Vink, I think, has gone over half, has done more than half race distance away that I can remember, and a few people have tried it in the early days, but it's not in the same way. Ollie Jones is still at 5.4, 5.5 watts per kilo.
He's picked his pace and he's picked his heart rate.
He's absolutely, I mean, really impressive ride. The scary thing is, though, he's just gone over half race distance.
I know.
It's still a long way to go and a lot of climbing. Now, in Category 2 coming to the top of the first of our categorized climbs. And this is Ola Warren. Warren is Category 4 going over. I'm saying Category 2, I'm thinking, how have they got this quick? It's the green skin suit that's confused me. Green skin suit, of course, going to the rider with the most sprint points. The polka dot going to the person who has done the climbs fastest. So in this case, Matt Smithson going up the climb fastest. It's one of only 2 climbs, so the points at the moment going to Smithson, but it will be the total points at the top that will decide the overall winner in terms of King of the Mountains. But remember, unlike the championship where we had that $1 million prize fund spread across the men's and women's races and across all of our different categories, from stages to overall to King of the Mountains to the sprints to the age categories, we have got one set of prizes, and that is the person to go over the line. It's about who goes over the line first at the top of the climb in each of our 4 categories, categories 4, 3, 2 and 1. Here in category 4, they are the riders furthest up the road. They're at 28k covered. You've got Matt Smithson, you've got Ola Warren in the lead. Behind you've got Zanaska, McMurtry, Montoya, Lloyd and Cove, and I guess in there. No, it's a big group coming up. We'll see what those time gaps are. At the moment, they're yo-yoing about like crazy, so we'll take another look back in a little while. Meanwhile, coming up towards the polka dot banner, this is category 3, and just for me, it's not a rider in a polka dot or in a green skin suit. It's somebody in the category 3 jersey, and it has just changed who it is because Cy Bradley is putting a dig in here. Now, great tactics to kick over the top of a climb. Cy Bradley has kicked hard to go through that climb. He's got to continue it over the top here. He can't afford to relax too much because he'll be distanced very quickly, but it looks like he's well aware of that and has picked up his pace. So Giuliano, Mostic, we've got Quadrelli in here, Caligula in here. They are in a big bunch of category 3 riders who come over the top of the first of our climbs, and they hit the FRB.
Well, they do indeed hit the FRB, the flat rolling bumpy section, because I couldn't make my mind up what to call it one day. And these riders, it's a big group of category 3 riders who are here, and they are rolling and rolling strongly. These category 4 riders getting a good ride. Good time to get picked up at the moment.
A very good time to get picked up because you can do some recovery in that bunch on those flat sections and probably have enough to stay with the group when it kicks. We're going to see a kicker now. In with Cy Bradley, one of those riders that is likely to stay there because he's category 3. The 4 are trying to do the same. They're trying to stay now. Let's drop back to category 2 here. These are the riders who are now coming up. And look at this. We've got Betty, Simmons, Dukey, Van Heat, Gates in here. It looks to me that they have pulled that group back and they are all back together, and they have done that on the first of our climbs. So the breakaway from the start has not worked in category 2. It's now about counter-attacking who's got something left. But what we have to remember, not everybody has made it to the leaders in that catch, because you can see on your screen bottom left-hand side that there are riders spread down this hillside. Not just the riders you can see on your screen, but people down around that left-hand, right-hand turn complex, round that hairpin bend and down the chicanes. Lots of people dropped.
Well, let's just remember, Graves, Spratt, Yeast, Betty and Bengston were the 5 riders away. Can they hold now the pace of the chase group? Can they stay in?
Whoa.
Betty's the rider leading the charge at the moment. Van Hees in 2, Simmons in 3, Mayer is there, El Alami is there, Kranich Graves is still in the mix. He's 2 seconds back, but there's still a bit of a push to come. Now, this is really, really interesting. What is happening in this Category 2 race? They had 22 seconds. They don't have it anymore. Jones had 1.5 minutes, and the rest of them are now chasing. Now, just in case anybody thinks that Ollie Jones, he's just gone off the front of an elite race field, a world-class racer. Well, yes, he has. But Ollie Jones is an international road racer.
Yeah.
He is not a slouch. He is not just anyone who has dropped in. He is an absolutely class rider from New Zealand. So please let's not think he's just somebody who has joined and attacked early.
No. And if you've watched the Sunday Race Club for the last year if you've watched the last 6 months, you might not be aware of his pedigree. If you've watched the last 2 years, you'll know he's a rider who has regularly featured at the front of the Category 1 racing. He's absolutely fine. In fact, when we had 3 categories rather than 4, he was still at the very front of Category 1. He is a quick rider. He handled himself with aplomb when we had one mass start as well. And everybody started together. I'm going back into dim and distant history now. But he's a rider who's got the class. He's ridden on the platform since the very early days. He's got that experience on the platform. And at the moment, he's putting it to good use. And I think, Emma, I mean, it's 1:12 to 1:15. It's still hovering at. Yeah. He's holding that pace. What he needs is for them not to go too high.
They're coming back a little on him. But Ollie Jones finished his international racing programme at the beginning of November. We are now at the end of November.
So he's on his way back from that rest
I think there has, I would imagine there has possibly been a period of a break, a bit of a rest. And now he is back on the bike and racing. And hopefully we're going to see him out and about on the Sunday Race Club throughout the winter. It's great to have him putting in some different tactics.
I'm absolutely loving the tactics. He's just making things difficult for everybody else. 118 with a similar watts per kilo coming out of the group behind, albeit much more difficult to tell. Christoph Thiem leading the chase behind at the moment. He's at the front with Saeed Safrasad, with Tim Cutler and co. These are those chasing riders, and the pressure starting to come on. You can see the arrowhead forming at the front of this group. You can see that at the back of the group, the gaps are starting to open as people are not responding at quite the correct pace. They need to make sure they don't let a gap go. We are going uphill. Quick reminder, we are on the first of 2 categorized climbs. Today, we have 5.5k in the first of those 2 climbs. We then have a further 13.5k in our second categorized climb, and we have the flat rolling bumpy section and the 500-meter drag to the line that all contribute to the last half of this race, in excess of the last half, all being basically uphill. At this moment in time, on that ascent, they are still traveling at nearly 30 kilometers an hour, and they're pushing on up here. So they're traveling at between 15 and about 19 kilometers and 15 and 19 miles an hour if you work in Albany, and it's about 29 kph in the metric system.
Well, let's just have a name check here, because everybody who I would expect to be here is. Paradians is here, Talbot, Vink, Fawcett, Noren, Knudsen, Thiem, SS, Vujasin, Nair, Jochems, Osborne. Panitza getting a little bit distance, and so is Carradine. But Bjorkland is in there as well. This is a continued push up this climb at the moment at 25.8 kilometers. They've got 1.5k on this climb still.
One name who has been distanced, Mr. X100, I think has not responded to this attacking, this chasing that suddenly has kicked in, and I think he's just feeling this. He's down. I saw him at the base of that. He's below Osborne. He's lower than that, and I think that is going to be what's going to be the issue for the UAE clan team. They will not want to lose somebody.
But
there
SS is up there.
Yeah, Mr. X100, here he is. Look, he wasn't in that leading. He's down in 56th position. You got Panitza, you got Van den Eyck out behind, but look who's above: Bjorkland, Jochems, Osborne, Carradine. It's not much, and we know that he can time trial his way back on. And everybody who's there will know that they need to get on his wheel. Osborne, surely he's going to get on his wheel. We know he's on the end of a long road program through the summer. But at the moment, Osborne is not being able to respond. Mr. X100 is over 6 watts per kilo. And I think it was that initial kick of the chasers that put him in trouble. And now he's having to time trial his way up. He will want to be up here. The rest of the team will want him up there. But can the UAE clan team do the business here in the finals? He's coming onto the wheels of riders like Lionel Vujassin and Simon Walter, who have been dropped out of the leading group. Christoph Thiem is just in front of him. And these riders are on the rivet here. They really are pushing. And this is going to be eating into the lead of Ollie Jones. If he's time trialing at 5.7 watts per kilo, we are seeing chasers doing nearly 7 watts per kilo in pursuit, and it's yo-yoing at the front of the pack, the chasing pack, all the way up to 10.
And bearing in mind, they've had a much easier start to this race. The first 20 kilometres of this race were pretty much a warm-up for them.
Yep. Yeah, it was. They were all sitting in that pack, letting Jones go down the road, doing all the work, pushing through the wind on his own. Now as they come up towards the waterfalls, this is the chasing group.
Can I just say I love this section of the climb?
It's great. Do you know what? It takes your mind off the suffering when you're riding up it. I spent half the time staring at the avatar in front's back hub, just like I do when I'm on the bike in outdoors. Well, when I'm not staring at the floor. And then the rest of the time I was staring at the scenery and trying to keep my mind off the fact that it was a long way up and we were still only on the very first part of the Paso Alto, the climb of the Medellin city. And we still have plenty more distance to go. We're nearly at the top of that first climb. It's still a long way to go, Emma.
And that's still a really big group of riders in this Category 1 chase field.
So, looking at Ollie Jones right inside your screen, he came in with 1 minute 45 at its max. He's going to come over the top
With
first. I
40
don't think he's going to get
seconds,
close.
I think he's going to get.
He's
going to take 40 seconds with him. So he's going to have lost 40 seconds, but he's still going to have 40 seconds as he can now see that polka dot banner.
Come on,
He's got to keep going, you know. He's just got to keep that pace going. They're up and over that climb. I think there's going to be a little bit of a regroup behind. The next climb that's coming might be 13.5 kilometres in length, but its gradient is much less severe. It is much more of a climb where you can continue to push on and tap out a good pace. It's got an average gradient of just 3.6%. It's going to be seriously close. And here they come.
They're on the way. Ollie Jones leading his work. They won't have the fastest time on the climb because these chasers have taken time out of him on the climb. He might have been the first one through, but it'll be the riders in this group. It's likely to be, say, Safrazad, who has the fastest time. We'll have a look. It is. He goes through 0.394 ahead of Michael Vick. Then Paradians, Tolbert, Van Diemen, Martins, Noren, Jacobs, Harris, all the chasers taking a chunk of time, some 40 plus seconds out of our leader in Category 1, Ollie Jones. Jones now a lot further down through the standings. How far down, Emma, do we know?
Oh, I don't have a refresh yet on my screen,
wow.
So I can't tell you.
Well,
but as soon as I do, I will.
I'll tell you something, it's going to come down even quicker. Now, Knudsen has gone. He's got Popovic for company. Looks like Kaminsky is in pursuit, and here they come. They are going to see him up the road now. They are on to the straight. This is going to be really, really close, really tight. They are coming. This is it. I think it's going to be game over for Jones on the next few hundred meters because we are on the FRB. It looks to me like it's going to be the base of the climb, and we're going to hit it, and this is going to be the leading group. If you look at your satellite navigation view, left-hand bottom side of your screen, they are all over the road. There are riders dispatched off the back of this group. It looks to me like this will be the lead group as we hit the climb. Ollie Jones may just about hold on to the front. There's a couple of riders chasing Mr. X100 at 4 seconds, Tim Cutler at 6 seconds.
I know.
They are probably the only riders who are likely to make contact.
Well, riders to make contact, they may just, but they may not because this group are now moving on and it's still a good-sized group.
It's a big group, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not one or two riders, and it's absolutely stacked full of talent here. And that makes it much more difficult for And this X104 Tim Cutler to get back onto the group, particularly when we've seen another move off the front. Another attack is going. This is a counter attack. They know they're getting close to Jones. It's Kopecky, no, it's Pablo Popovic who's gone. So Pablo Popovic, who's a real, we call him the momentum master. He rides this platform just so well. He's like one of those surfers you see on a wave who just gets the balance right. He uses the terrain, he uses the ground, he surfs that wave, and he uses that momentum, and he knows just when to push. He's going to come up on towards the back wheel of Jones, who's got Kopecky with him. This is going to be it's going to be curtains for Jones in terms of the individual, but it has put him in the lead group. The big question, Emma, can he ride with these riders? Will he surf that sort of wave with the lead group? Or is he going to come tumbling down and try not to drown in whatever he's coming after?
Well, I'll tell you what, he's had a good workout on Sunday. But Jones now picking up the pace, and he backed off a little bit, just to give himself a bit of a break, but now he's picked up the pace again, and he's sitting in the group at the moment. So Popovic in 1, Jones in 2, Noren is there, so is Van Els, so is Van Diemen, so is Paradians, Martins and Vink. These riders all going up and over the top as they take this right-hand corner. Now, I am trying to do a quick count. I think there's 13, 14 riders in this main group at the moment.
It is really, really interesting. Now that the catch has been made, another attack going down the road. 2, 3 riders. It's a response coming from Martin. Martin's here. Michael Nudson's the rider who instigated it with Johan Noren for company. This is, I think, going to be the pattern. They're going to break and reform as they make the way in to the start of the ascent of our second climb, the Bogota climb. That is the climb that will take us up to our finish. It's 13.5 kilometers long. It finishes in terms of the segment 500 meters before the finish line. The last 500 meters though are not flat as another attack, another move goes off the front. At the moment, they may have ridden steady at the start, boy. They've got ants in the pants there. They're on the go now.
I think that's Knudsen who's gone up and over the top, and it is indeed. So Michael Knudsen from the UAE clan team going up and over the top like his teammate Popovic did. And in fact, it's Popovic chasing. Can they try and do a hitman and get the team away? Martins has seen what's going on. He's the one trying to bridge the gap. Vink is there as well, but Vink is a teammate of Popovic and Knudsen as they go under the start banner of the final climb today.
And looking at those numbers, I think Vink is just marking out those riders. He's a smart rider. He knows there is likely to be more chances, and he's also strong enough to go across later. He doesn't need to go immediately. He can wait a little while. He can just delay everybody else and then go. Now they're on the climb. This is our final climb. We are still a long way to the race finish. 31.2k covered for the leaders in category 1. 35.2k covered for the leaders of category 3, because they are now with the chasers in category 4. So is Linda Milostic with Ryan Giuliano, Alessio Caligula in here. Looks like Albin Bogren is in there, as well as Cy Bradley, Filippo Cordrelli. These are the riders in category 3. They're just coming over the top of the chasers in category 2. Vanagas just trying to stay with them in that category 4 race. But key here, look up the top, 124 to Ola Warren. Now, you did it in what currency were you in?
Ooh!
Emma's just realised what flag that is.
I have.
It just
I did it in Swedish kroners.
I know, it was like suddenly you just went, oh my goodness, I did the right one.
I just, when you randomly pick something and it all comes together, but it is Ola Warren for it's coming together.
He's still got to hold it to the top.
He's just got to hold it to the top. So Warren in category 4, leading the category 4 race by over a minute. Quadrelli in the category 3 race has company because Caligula is there along with a number of other riders in the category 2 race. It's a huge pack at the moment in that category 2 race, continuing to push up that climb. The category 1 race, well, the chase is on. They've brought back in Ollie Jones. They're at 32.2 kilometers. They are just under 2 kilometres behind the Category 2 race, and it is indeed a push on now from Michael Vink.
Michael Vink with Pablo Popovic again.
Well, the teammates are on it, and
Knudsen
is on the wheel as well. So Vink, Popovic and Knudsen from the UAE clan team, absolutely doing the work on the front. Martin Martins, who's had a good month, he's on form at the moment, ensuring he covers the move. David Talbot is there. Now, Talbot had a good ride this month. He has 1 top 5 position. So it is all go. Kaminsky is in there. Now, Kaminsky is interesting because whilst Kaminsky didn't have a top 5, he
must have had
has taken King of the Mountains.
Yeah, he's been there or thereabouts.
He's been climbing really well, and he has been thereabouts. Now, just a quick call, because we were on the Paso Alto for the September final, which was won by Knudsen in 1 hour and 18 minutes. But second was Martin, third was Norin, Safrazad was 4th, and Vujasin was 5th.
Yeah, and Vink was down the road, was behind him quite a way. He went harder than either blew or sat up.
Well, at the moment, it's not looking like that at all. We've got more riders in the mix than that. So Knudsen, Vink, Popovic, Martins, Kaminsky, Talbot, Nair and Noren are all there. There's a gap back to a couple of riders. So we've got a leading group, and we've got a bit of a tail on that leading group at the moment. And then we've got 2 Category 1 riders further down the road.
And I think if you're going to be in it to win it, you've got to come here, but it's still a long, long way. Quick reminder, this is a 45-kilometre race. We are at kilometre 33.4, soon to be 33.5. That means, well, there is still plenty of time for things to chase. Another move goes up the front, and it's only Michael Vink going up the road again. It is indeed Michael Vink, who went off at 8 watts per kilo. He puts the dig in. Another response comes. Martins is the one to respond, and Talbot. Yeah, look at that. Popovic marking the moves out this time round. Knudsen marking the moves as well. Kaminsky's just fighting to stay in the wheels. Turek is battling behind with Nair, with Noren. Over the top they come. Is this going to be a counter-attack now by Knudsen? I think it surely is going to be. Is he going to go hard? They're going to come up on some Category 2 riders. They'll be able to take some draft because they are absolutely flying the pace they're moving. That draft will take effect as they are on this climb. We're running in with Michael Vink. And he's putting out, I've just seen 489 watts come out of him as he jumped onto the back of the group. He didn't want to be distanced or caught out by the group going in through here. Has he got the pace to stay with them today?
I don't know. Look at this, because it's 6 riders in the leading group in Category 1 going up and over the Category 2 riders, causing a bit of a split to start with, but it's Knudsen, Kaminsky, Popovic, Martins, Vink and Talbot. The 6 riders clear at the moment. 6 seconds back to Nair, Turek and Noren.
So the riders on the front of Category 1 chasing the leaders of Category 2, and it's quite telling, I think, that how hard that Category 2 race has been, because there's still well over 20 Category 2 riders in front of the Category 1 riders on the road. Olivier Simmons with Betty. They're the 2 riders at the front. Simmons and Betty working really well at the moment.
The pack just 4 seconds off, though, you know, Matt.
It's nothing. It's not over until you hit that flight, I think, for these riders. And we have seen sprint finishes at the top of the Paso Alto. We have seen it being decided by fractions of a second.
Yeah, and they've got 9.1 kilometres to go until they see that checkered flag, but that 9.1 kilometres is all uphill. It's uphill on the Bogota climb. It is going all the way to the top. When they see the polka dot banner, it means that the segment is over, but there is still 500 metres until the checkered flag. Well, Betty and Simmons are the 2 riders clear at the moment, and they're continuing to push on. You know, now we're starting to see even more of a stretch on that group.
And don't forget, this is also about the team. Betty and Simmons on 2 different teams. You've got Betty for the Wattage Wizards. You've got Simmons in there for the Hitmen, who had instigated the attacks. Van He's all over it behind from the Beast Mode, powered by Rose Squad. You've Juki in there as well. He wants to be in the mix. He's from the Wattage Warlocks. So lots of teams who are still in the mix in Category 2. In Category 1, yes, we have a really strong mix of riders from the UAE clan team, as we would expect. But we are having plenty of riders taking it to them, including Martin. Martin's the rider who's on the left of your screen at the moment. He's just in front of Michael Vink. Then it's behind him. It's going to be Talbot, followed by Turek in Category 1. But Kaminsky, Knudsen and Popovic at the moment are the ones that are setting the pace on this climb. Are we going to see a counter-attack? Are we going to see a move? Popovic starting to push a little bit harder here. You can see starting to go in. Really interesting. Vink's numbers don't go into the yellow when he is at a higher rate of power to watts ratio than Popovic, and that is because he's got so much more in the tank, because he is, at the end of the day, a Continental World Tour rider. He is a professional rider at the very top of road racing. On the road, he's transferring those skills to racing esports, and another discipline underneath that UCI banner. MyWhoosh, of course, the esports partner right the way to 2026. So lead group on the road: Vink, Talbot, Noren, Nair, Turek. Further back, Turek and Nair, further back. That is not going to happen.
23 seconds. They are not going to come back to that. So Noren, Nair and Turek, 3 riders now, 24, 23, 24
but
seconds.
But they could still count in that team competition.
Well, and they probably will. Key. So they do indeed need to keep racing for those seconds, because Van Diemen and Harris, Van Elsen X100 and Jacobs are only 30 seconds further back. So absolutely every second counts as they continue to push their way to the finish.
And a quick reminder for you, team competition is decided by the fastest time for your fastest 3, combined time for the fastest 3 riders. Add up the fastest 3 riders' time, that gives you the time. The difference can be as little as fractions of a second after the rider's time is added up. To give you an indication, expectation for a winning team time on here is somewhere between 3 hours and 45 and probably 3 hours and 50 at the absolute most, I would say, dependent on how fast these riders all go. It may well be that they're going to push to 320. It does depend on where those riders are on the slopes in all of our categories. Well, that is Category 1 alone.
Let me give you some information around that team competition.
Yep.
So in our October final, in Category 1, the Belgian Waffles won from the Sweet Potatoes by 1 minute 11 seconds.
Wow.
In Category 2, the Wattage Wizards won from the Hitmen by 9.9 seconds. In Category 3, it was the Colombian Andeans from Hexagon by 43 seconds. And in Category 4, it was the Anzacs from Bauhaus Sports Club. 4 seconds was the winning margin in that team competition.
So in a time that is, well, for Category 4, going to be over 4 hours, for the 3 leading riders to get to the top of the climb. They were separated after 4 hours plus of racing in total for the 3 riders by 4 seconds.
Yes. So the first team's riders finished in 3rd, 6th and 8th position. The second team riders finished in 1st, 5th and 9th.
And that shows you why every single rider in every single category is absolutely giving it to absolutely everything on the slopes of the Paso Alto here today.
Look at that, because Ola Warren has been giving it absolutely everything in Category 4, and he's not about to get caught in his own category. He's currently the leader on the road at the moment, coming up to 40 kilometers of racing. He's been racing for 1 hour and 23 minutes, but he is about to get caught, and the pack that are coming to catch him, that is the leading group in the Category 3 race, and it is a big group of riders.
I'd say something, they are moving. It's like Jaws, isn't it? They're just coming up behind. Dum, 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 dum. You know, you look over the back of your shoulder, and you go, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Well, Ola Warren doesn't need a bigger boat because his boat is big enough today to win that Category 4 race.
I mean, what a ride by Warren. It may be that because of the way that we get into the finish and the times that we're not going to cover going over the line. if that happens,
it's a phenomenal ride.
It is an awesome ride. Ola, absolutely hats off to you, mate. That is brilliant riding. Just keep at it. It's going to be interesting to see if he can hold it to the top. It's 5K to go
and his
still.
team, the Bauhaus Sports Club, absolutely engaging in their local community as well and doing community development work with young riders in Scandinavia. So, it's not just about racing. It is cycling has a much wider reach than just racing.
That if you are one of the great things about working with community clubs, and it doesn't matter whether you're in Sweden, whether you're in the UAE or across the globe, you know that you've got a fan base there. We see it time and time again.
I hope they're cheering him on
at the moment. They should be cheering him at the moment because he's doing an amazing job. Absolutely inspirational ride by Ola Warren, and it's always good to see one of your own racing. I know when I had the pleasure of hosting a Yorkshire Cyclocross live viewing of the World Championships, where Tom Peacock actually put in a World Championship win from Yorkshire at the World Championship cross. Oh my goodness, and it almost took the roof off. And they're a noisy bunch in Yorkshire in the UK.
Cross.
But it is, I have to say, it's the same across all disciplines. Once you've got somebody up that road, you can take you can blow the speakers, you can take the roof off the house, you can cheer them on. And a great ride by Ola Warren. He is solo. It could go wrong for him yet, but he's going to have to blow quite badly. He's got the full turn that he's just gone round and a few hundred meters more. And he does have to be a little careful because there are two riders in the chasing groups behind, and they are trying to use the groups of riders in Category 3 coming through to come up. I think Warren is likely to do the same here and try and stay with this group as long as possible. It's a big group, and in an absolute contrast, we have got an absolute stack of riders in contention, and pretty much any of them can take the win at the top of this because they're all looking good.
They can do indeed. So Giuliano is here, Montier is here, Caligula is here, Quadrelli is here, Gonsulin is here. There are riders in this group who have won this month. Filippo Quadrelli is the dominant rider at the moment in this category. 2 first place and 1 second place in the qualifiers this month. But it has been really, really interesting to see what is going to happen. Giuliano has had a win and a third, so he's got to be up there as well. But so has Kochikov. He's had a third and a fourth. So the riders that we would expect to see in here are indeed in this leading group of what I think is around 14 riders in that race field,
Great to see all of our categories so competitive. That group is massive. Now, in contrast,
it's all changed.
Yep, now you have Betty and Simmons. They are the riders away in Category 2. If we could just have a coffee for every time we said the group of riders are away in Category 2, because it's happened a lot today. I'll be quite a happy man. Betty is there with Simmons. 2 riders on 2 different teams. This is going to be very, very telling because their teammates are not going to chase. That's in Category 2. In Category 1, Michael Vink has got a minimal gap, a very minimal gap, because on his heels is his teammate, Pablo Popovic. Then it's Martin Martins trying to stay with them, but he's got Knudsen and Kaminski
for company. Look at the kick from Knudsen there. No, if Martins is going across, so am I, says Knudsen. And look at the way Kaminski goes. I said Kaminski was climbing really well this month. Whilst he hasn't had a top 5 position, he has won King of the Mountains. So we know his climbing is superb at the moment, and his climbing form is there. So Vink, Popovic, Kaminski, Knudsen and Martins. That is your leading group of 5 riders in this Category 1 competition. And I did just catch a little glimpse a little bit back further down the field as to who was the Category 1 rider chasing. That is David Talbot. So Talbot has been distanced from this leading group. So 6 down to 5. 8 seconds back to Talbot now.
And if he's been distanced, it's for a reason. It's because he's not got that pace. It's because he's not going to be up there. He's really going to have to work. The problem they've got is that Michael Vink is drilling this at 7.5 to 8 watts per kilo. And Vink is now going into those red chevrons that show that he really is pushing down the power. He wants to break the riders behind. He knows that if he can go up the road with one of his teammates, if not two, that they will be putting themselves in line for that team competition because they'll be putting the time gaps in. He will want company from Popovic and Knudsen. I'm not sure he's going to get that. I think he's going to have riders who are in a different mix from different teams, with Martin Martins and Michael Kaminsky both looking on absolutely awesome form. They're on the left of your screen. A little bit further down the hill on the right-hand side of your screen, we're riding in with Stefan Van Elst. Van Elst and Mr. X100 are together as they come up the slopes. They are chasing Talbot, so Talbot is in no man's land in between at the moment, losing ground to the race leaders in Category 1, being chased down by the riders behind, and that is going to be putting the pressure on.
Wow.
Has he got a big enough gap? We are at 40 kilometres covered of 45k. We're into the magic 5k to the finish, but it's a long 5k uphill.
I'll tell you something, I'm currently trying to do a little bit of juggling here in the team competition in Category 1, and I think at the moment it's looking like a UAE clan team in 1. Do not give up in 2, and the Belgian Waffles, I'm looking at whether they are in 3rd place, but at the moment it's Michael Vink on the attack again. Kaminsky is second wheel, Popovic is there as well, so is Martins, Knudsen is there, Talbot is the rider distance off the back, and it's 17 seconds now, so these 5 riders, Vink, Popovic, Kaminsky, Knudsen and Martins, all still together. Vink continuing to push though.
So Vink pushes, Vink attacked then. The first one to answer it was Kaminsky. Kaminsky was straight on his wheel. No messing around, straight on there. Then you saw Popovic come through. Then you saw Martins come up. Then you saw Knudsen. Knudsen is not leading any kind of chase here. He really is waiting. This is a waiting game from Michael Knudsen, I think. He's waiting to see. He's letting everybody else. Every time Vink attacks and somebody else closes it down at a fast pace, and he can just go that little bit steadier and use that draft, he's saving energy. That means that he's saving energy for the last few hundred meters. He knows his climb inside out. That's the left-hand side of your screen. Right-hand side of your screen, this is the run for the line, because these are the riders in Category 3. They are the leaders on the road at the moment. They've got the gap on the rest. Taylor Gonsolin, I mentioned him at the start of the show that this course would suit him. He's absolutely flying. I know, I think I've done this for a little while. That bump on the head hasn't damaged the memory for the riders, that's for sure, because Gonsolin up here, Quadrelli, he really came to the fore on the tough days of the MyWhoosh Championship.
But you know, there's a lot of riders in that group, Matt.
I know.
Quadrelli, Montalo, Bradley, Gonsolin, Montier, Conol. Just Diduch is there as well. It's still a huge group in Category 3.
It could be a bunch sprint uphill into town.
I think it's going to be, because, you know, this Category 3 group, we've said all month, there is so much strength and depth in this Category 3 group. It is just phenomenal.
Well, Milostic, I think, is wanting to wind it up now before we get to that sprint. That is where, if you are not a sprinter that can sprint uphill, you are a climber, you're going to need to start doing some damage now. It's at 43.8k. You've got 1.2k, 1,200 meters. You've got to really push. Milostic is doing that at 6 watts per kilo here. He's opening up a little bit of a gap. He's putting them under pressure behind, and it is doing damage, but he's not got a big enough gap. They could close that in a sprint. They are not far enough behind. He has to keep the pressure on, and at the same time, he's burning energy that he's not going to have available in the sprint.
Well, they're not going to let him go. There's 1 kilometre to go.
No way would you let anyone go. This is going to be a real grandstand finish here as they come in. We are now at 900 meters to go. Linda Milostic is the rider in the front of Category 3. You've got Gonsolin in 2, Caligula in 3. You've got Bogran in 4. It's changing quickly because that group is basically still together, but this is the run.
Together, it's rotating, it's stretching on the road, and it's running into the finish. We've got 800 meters to go, and Milostic is still leading this out. Koshikov takes it up at 9 watts per kilo. That is the banner signifying the end of the Category 2 climb segment. That's going to be the end of the Bogota climb. We're going to have 500 meters to go in this race once we get under that banner. So Monello still pushing on. Millerstick in 2, Caligula in 3, Kochkov in 4, Quadrelli in 5. They're starting to stretch this group. They're starting to wind it up for the finale. This is going to be a phenomenal last 400 meters. So Caligula pushes on, but it is not closing down the gap on these leading two. Millerstick here at all pushing on. It's Monella here as well leading this out. So these two riders neck and neck. The rest of the group behind. I'm seeing 7 watts per kilo behind coming out from Gonzalez. Giuliano is kicking behind. Is he going to get here? Because that's the banner up ahead. Are we going to see Monella take this in the win? Are we going to see Millerstick come through? But at 4.7 watts per kilo, that's not a big kick. Giuliano is coming, 7.6 watts per kilo, but he's left it too late because Monella is going to take the win today in Category 3. So we see the win today in Category 3 coming through. The phenomenal riding there. But we flip back to the other categories on the road at the moment. And we're about to see Category 1 leader Michael Vink catch the Category 2 race field.
So the Category 2 leaders, Simmons and Betty at the front. They have got a gap of 35 seconds or so to Krasnich. Michael Vink has finally managed to break the elastic and go clear of the riders behind. He's got 8 seconds on Knudsen, 9 seconds on Popovic. Both are his teammates. Martins at the moment is the rider behind at 17 seconds on Michael Vink. And there is no sign of Kaminsky at the moment. I think he's gone so hard that he's really in trouble now and could be hemorrhaging time to the race leaders. Betty leading in Category 2 on the right-hand side of his screen with Simmons in the mix. We've seen how hard this finale is. The riders on the way to the line. You've 800 meters for Category 2. You've 900 meters for Category 1 for Vink. They're almost going to hit the line together. They've got to hold it together all the way through. Remember, the polka dot banner is not the finish. 500 meters from there to that UCI gantry across the road. MyWhoosh, the UCI, a partner till 2026 as Betty and Simmons come up towards the arch. And I'll tell you something, they know they've got what is 30 seconds to the riders behind. Krasnich is the nearest rider. They're looking at each other, and that's dangerous here because they will lose time very quickly. They've got to keep an eye on that. But the pace has come off somewhat here. They're now going to have to kick again and pick the pace up. And all the time, Michael Vink is closing them down. He's also through the climb banner here today. But this is about that run for the line. That's going to be critical on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Remember, it is difficult to see. Betty now starts to push on. We've seen a 6 watts per kilo. Can he carry it all the way to the line?
Well, Betty pushes on. Simmons is in 2. They don't have sight of the gantry yet, but Michael Vink is on his way behind. So Category 2 and Category 1, they are going to come together now as Betty kicks at 11 watts per kilo. He wants to take this win in Category 2. Simmons is not responding. Betty has the best of Simmons, and Betty is going to take the Category 2 win today from Olivier Simmons. That is going to be the finish. There's Michael Vink from Category 1. Well, he sees the finish line now. Vink has ridden away from the fall behind. Michael Vink takes the win in Category 1. So Pablo Popovic and Michael Knudsen are going to be the next 2 riders in. They are Michael Vink's teammates. It's going to be a 1, 2, 3 from the UAE clan team today as James Kranich just pops past Michael Knudsen for 2nd place in that Category 2 race.
So this run for the line has absolutely been frantic to the finish. Martin Martins will lead home. his team here today, the Belgian Waffles, who are coming through in a 4th place. Behind that, it's going to be Kaminsky taking 5th place in that individual competition. Remember, Kaminsky riding for the Donut Give Up squad. Behind, we have more of our Category 2 riders coming in with Bjarhead, Spina, and Mayer, the next riders through. Then it's going to be a really interesting battle, because although the first place team competition is decided in the favour of the clan team, it's not necessarily the case that the positions behind are definitive for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in the team competition. So let's give you a roundup of what we've had happen. Betty, Simmons and Krasnich, the 1, 2, 3 in Category 2. In Category 1, Michael Vink taking the win, Pablo Popovic taking 2nd, and Michael Knudsen taking 3rd, all for the UAE clan team, who, subject to verification of all these results, of course, are going to be the winners of the team competition. Martin Martins and Stefan Van Els coming in 4th and 6th for the Belgian Waffle squad. Donut Give Up have Kaminsky and Solber in there. Sweet Potatoes have Zach in 9th. The Miss X100 of the UAE clan team, meaning that the UAE clan team put 4 riders in the top 9 here today in the November finals. So what a ride here today. That has been an absolute pleasure to watch. A pleasure. I'm quite glad that that bang on the head meant it wasn't quite hard enough for me not to be here today.
Well,
so thank you for having me.
Yeah, I do think we just need to mention Betty's win in Category 2, Montella Monella in Category 3, and Warren in Category 4. Phenomenal racing on the monthly final. Can't believe November is over.
I can't believe it's over either. It's not long, it's going to be at the end of December, don't worry.
So thank you for joining me, Emma, Martin, and Matt as well. Matt, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on Strava, on MyWhoosh, at Matt Fix a Pain.
Well, you can find me at Biking Emma. You can find MyWhoosh at mywhoosh.com and on all of the social media platforms. Now is the time to get ready to join us in December, because Qualifier 1 is where we move to next month. Get on the platform, get on the Sunday Race Club. We'd really love to see you. So thank you to our riders for providing some phenomenal racing today and throughout November. Thank you to the team behind the scenes for putting all of the action together. Thank you for watching. It's been fantastic to have you with us. We'll see you in December. Stay safe. Enjoy your riding. Goodbye.
Goodbye.